Paul Johnson and the Yellow Jackets must shake off last week's loss to Miami at home today against Middle Tennessee. Georgia Tech 2-2, both losses in overtime. Heartbreakers. Let's see how they respond. Kickoff at noon. Check your local listings. The Blue Devils and the Demon Deacons. Sounds like a horror film. They're getting ready to kick off at 12:30 on the ACC network. Wake has beaten Duke 12 years in a row. The last few have been close, and a win today would put Duke at 4-1.
Florida State still with sweet memories of last week, but next up, South Florida. The Noles have bitter memories of the last time they played.
What a win for South Florida.
The Hokies also turn to the Big East for an out-of-conference test. Can they grab Cincy's Cats by the tail?
83,000 plus watched FSU not surrender. Come from behind. Beat Clemson 49-37.
There's no denying E.J. Manuel and the Noles got the nation's attention last week, but should they be getting even more respect? And
James still again with daylight. James for the end zone. Miami wins. One of the great comebacks in Miami history.
Mike James talks to us about what it was like to pull off the comeback that just might have saved Miami's season. You're watching ACC Kickoff Live.
Over to the 10, at the 5. Touchdown.
Let's go. It's 11 a.m. Saturday morning. Grab that cup of coffee. It is National Coffee Day, so no excuse. Let's get that jolt going for the next hour. We drink up ACC football. With me, former Georgia Tech and NFL running back Dorsey Levens. I'm Jeff Rochelle. Okay, Dorsey, last week, huge week for the ACC. What did you take from it?
I took that FSU as a team to be reckoned with. They're great on all three phases of the game. Special teams, they have two great returners. Defensively, they probably have two of the best defensive ends in the country. And offensively, we have our first Heisman candidate in the ACC, in Emmanuel.
We're going to talk EJ and his Heisman chances coming up. Florida State takes on South Florida today. It headlines a list of non-conference games in the ACC. So let's take a look. It's our Saturday menu brought to you by Ruby Tuesday. Dorsey, your Yellow Jackets need to rebound at home.
They do. Coming off a very disappointing overtime loss, their second loss in the ACC. They'll get back on track today.
North Carolina, the Tar Heels trying to getting a win streak going.
Yeah, I think, these guys are finally starting to get used to Larry Fedora's system offensively and defensively. Gio Bernard is back healthy. I expect to see UNC play well today.
The Virginia Cavaliers scheduled a non-BCS team. The problem is it's Louisiana Tech. The Bulldogs are 3-0. They've won 7 straight on the road, including an impressive 52-24 win over Illinois last week. The Cavs had better play better. Dorsey, Virginia Tech, and Cincinnati meet at FedEx Field.
It's going to be a tough one. Cincinnati's 12th in the country running the football. Virginia Tech's defense stepped up last week. Let's see if they can carry that momentum over into this week.
And the Florida State Seminoles, ranked 4 in the country. So impressive last week. Now smack dab in the middle of the national title discussion. That's after that last week's win over Clemson. Jimbo Fisher, though, does not want them thinking any more about that game. It's over. It's time to move on to the next game. He's not satisfied.
Everybody's happy. Well, I'm not at all. And everybody's relieved. I'm not. Everybody feels like relief. That's the worst thing we can have. It's time to put your foot on the gas and get better right now. Ain't no time to feel good about yourself or be relieved. It's time to move on.
Dorsey, you've played in big games. Is it tough to avoid a letdown that next week? Are the Noles prepared for that today?
It really is to avoid a letdown because that was a big win last week on a national stage against a nationally ranked opponent. But I love Jimbo's approach. Forget about it. It's over. He's a 24-hour rule guy. You celebrate for 24 hours and move on to the next game. But based on his history, earlier this season, they played 2 FCS teams in Savannah State and Murray State. There was no letdown. They came out, they dominated, they played football the way it's supposed to be played, and they came out on top.
They put up 650 yards of offense last week against Clemson, and the defense took control in the second half. Dorsey, which side of the ball are you more impressed with right now?
Oh, that's hard to say because they're so impressive on both sides of the ball, as well as special teams like we said in the open. So I'm going to call it a dead even tie. Defensively, they're ranked number 2 in the nation. Offensively, they're ranked number 4. I don't see a weakness right now.
No, it's hard for Jimbo to complain with any of those numbers, no doubt. And of course, they're putting up over 50 points a game. Last week, 49. That was their low of the season. Tallahassee to Tampa, just 400 miles apart. These schools, Florida State and South Florida, have played once 3 years ago. South Florida's freshman quarterback, B.J. Daniels, he grew up in Tallahassee. He shredded the Noles defense in his first career start. threw for over 200 yards, ran for over 100. South Florida won 17-7. Bulls fans stayed in the stadium chanting USF long after the game was over. Daniels is now a senior and could test the Noles again today with his legs and that arm. All right, time now for ACC Buzz. Let's bring in K Nash Sports. Kelly Nash, what's trending right now in the ACC?
Yeah, good morning, guys, and happy game day, ACC fans. The big buzz is Clemson going to be able to bounce back against Boston College today after their disappointing loss to the Seminoles last weekend. Well, they're going to have to try to do so without wide receivers Sammy Watkins and Martavis Bryant. Watkins still suffering from that virus, and Bryant with a lingering groin injury. Now, speaking of Boston College, Penn State fans might not like this, but they're becoming known as Linebacker U. Nick Clancy, their inside linebacker, now leads the nation in tackles per game with, get this, 14.3, guys. And moving on to the Duke-Wake Forest game, keep an eye on Blue Devils wide receiver Connor Vernon. He is just 6 receptions shy of leading the ACC in career receptions. He's got 227, and get this, with 6 will put him ahead of Aaron Kelly of Clemson for the top spot.
Kelly, that's great stuff. Thank you. And remember, folks, you can chime in on Twitter at the ACCDN. We may even read your questions or comments here during the show. We'll talk more about Connor Vernon as well later. Another Big East ACC battle today at FedEx Field in Landover, Maryland. Virginia Tech versus Cincy. The Hokies lost to Pitt. Cincy's beaten Pitt. All right, Dorsey, the Hokies, even despite that loss 2 weeks ago, looked much better last week against Bowling Green.
They really did. They stepped up on both sides of the ball. Defensively, they really slowed down Bowling Green in the first half, held them to only 71 yards rushing. The week before that, though, they were dominated up front by a more physical Pittsburgh Panther team. Like you said, this Cincinnati team beat this team. Cincinnati's 12th in the league or in the nation and rushing the football. So they have the work cut out for them today. And they also got the run game going last week, too. They had struggled a little bit. Some guys stepped up, Tony Gregory, Martin Scales. Obviously, Logan Thomas is good running the football as well, but they still need to work on their passing game.
Despite that 37-0 win, they did get started slowly. Are you concerned that this team week in, week out is getting off to slow starts?
I am, because it's a pattern, and they haven't gotten over it yet. Last week, 0-0 in the first half against Bowling Green, then they scored 21 points in the second quarter. But there's a pattern here, and it needs to be fixed because you don't want to fall behind in one of these games too far and not be able to dig yourself out of a hole.
Yeah, now, so if Florida State and Virginia Tech win today against Big East teams, the ACC will move over 500 against the Big East. 2-3 so far. The 2 wins, Maryland over Temple, NC State over UConn. The 3 losses, Virginia Tech to Pitt, Maryland went down to UConn, and North Carolina came up short to Louisville. Remember that incredible comeback, just short. Over the past 5 years, the 2 conferences are even, 17 wins apiece.
Coming up, Mike James and the Canes. An incredible turnaround last week. James says it was a red flag warning to the rest of the ACC. Don't sleep on the Canes.
Taj isn't just the quarterback, he's a leader. And that's what you want to see.
Taj Boyd didn't like the taste of losing, and that's what he told his teammates. Plus, the Noles win over Clemson was so impressive in every way, it's put E.J. Manuel in the middle of the Heisman Trophy talk.
I'm going to tell you something. This is a Heisman performance here tonight.
Should he be the favorite right now?
For more on this 5th weekend of Atlantic Coast Conference football, tune in to the ACC Blitz powered by Ram. Host Tom Worming and Coach Tommy Bowden break down today's conference games, and they take a trip to Africa with the Duke offensive line. So tune in at noon to the ACC Blitz powered by Ram. Check local listings for the station in your area.
We end the first quarter 19-0. Miami.
That was just a little too easy, wasn't it?
36 straight. Gonna get it into overtime on the road in Atlanta.
He throws underneath the Mike James, the screen to the 5, into the end zone! Touchdown, Miami!
Miami has won the toss and elected defense.
It's 4th down. A gamble, no question. He may have been stopped cold. He may have been stopped cold. That's the top ground attack in America, stuffed by the Hurricanes. James for the end zone.
Miami wins! Miami wins!
One of the great comebacks in Miami history.
What does this mean to your program to win this game?
It means a lot. Come on the road in the ACC. Be down the way we were. They just keep me.
With me now on Skype, one of the heroes of that big comeback win against Georgia Tech, Hurricanes running back Mike James. Mike, thanks for taking a few minutes to join us. You guys have the momentum after that big win, so let's talk about what you do next. I'm sure you guys feel like taking on NC State, this is a big game for you, right?
Almost definitely. I mean, NC State's a great ball club. We're really looking forward to playing them at home. I mean, they're fast, they're physical. They got a lot of veteran guys. They got some great DBs, some great linebackers. The defensive coordinator is very, very well known, and he does a lot of great things well. So we look forward to playing them.
Yeah, it's going to be a great game. Let's go back to last week, though. So much fun. You scored 4 touchdowns, including that game winner in overtime for the Hurricanes. What did it feel like as you crossed the goal line?
Just a sense of relief. You know, I was more happy than ever to see my teammates and my coaches running around, and they were excited. So I think this was the biggest thing about it, just making everybody happy. You know, bringing it back and winning a big game like that at Georgia Tech is tough. So it was a good feeling.
Now, when we talked this summer, you talked about teams treating you like a pillow, right? So did Georgia Tech treat you like a pillow and sleep on you in the second half?
I don't know what they did. I just know they're a great ball club. I mean, they came out, they played us well, they did everything right. They got up on us 36-19, and you know, all I can say is the Miami Hurricanes play Miami Hurricane football and rally back. So.
The Canes are 3-1. Is anyone treating you like a pillow anymore?
I'm not sure. I've been, you know, trying to get this team ready for NC State, so I'm not sure what everybody's doing, but I know in the summer they was.
All right, it was a career day for you. Great game with the 4 touchdowns. You also set career highs in yards and carries. All right, you feel like, hey, Lamar Miller's gone. Now it's my turn to show what I can do.
I mean, you know, that was always something. You know, of course, I got the torch this year, and I'm trying to, you know, continue what Lamar did. We're doing a great job last year, rushing over 1,000 yards and helping us win the games that he did. So, you know, basically, you know, that's something I haven't really thought much into. I'm just trying to help win games and keep on winning games in the Coastal and in the conference.
You and Duke Johnson are sharing the load. Phenomenal true freshman season for Duke so far. You feel like you guys are sharing the load well together? You work well together?
Yeah, I feel like we complement each other very well. I mean, Duke's like a little brother to me. We do a lot of things. We have a real good time in the backfield, and don't forget about Eduardo Clemens. You know, he shares the load with us. He does a lot of great things, and also Dallas Crawford, you know, contributes on special teams as a running back, and also Mo Hagan's our unsung hero, our fullback. You know, he upholds for us. You know, he's a fighter. He does a lot of great things well, and you know, just I don't want you guys to leave those guys out. You know.
Yeah, respect to Mike James for making sure everybody gets a shout out in the backfield, right, Mike? Hey, let's talk about it. You guys are 3-1 right now, 2-0 in the ACC. What kind of expectations do you have now for the rest of the season?
To keep on doing what we're doing. We've been doing some things right. We've been doing some things well in the Coastal, and we're doing some things right, winning games. And you know, we're just trying to, you know, be on the small details, make sure we execute on mistakes, and get better from week to week.
Mike, that's great stuff. The Wolfpack and Hurricanes, one of 3 conference games on the Saturday menu, brought to you by Ruby Tuesday. Both teams, the last 2 weeks, averaging more than 40 points a game. The winner of this one moves to 4-1. Who has the edge? That's coming up. Dorsey, Duke tries to break a 12-game losing streak to Wake.
I don't think it happens today. I'm not sure if Duke actually believes they can win this game. 12 games in a row is a lot.
It is a long run. They've come close a couple times. Still some work to do. Clemson travels to BC.
I'm going to give Clemson the win, but it's not going to be as easy as you think. Boston College has some weapons on offense. Still need to see a lot more out of Clemson's defense.
All right, North Carolina State definitely not sleeping on Miami like a pillow today. Dorsey had to be impressed, right, with what the Canes did last week against Georgia Tech.
Oh, absolutely. They came out, and Stephen Morris had the game of his life, and he found a new wide receiver in Phillip Dorsett, who they ran up and down the football field in the first half. In the backfield, we talked to Mike James earlier. He's a great back, and I so much respect from him for bringing Duke Johnson along, because a lot of cases like that where you have an older veteran and a younger guy coming in stealing some of the spotlight, there could be some resentment. So hats off to Mike for coming in and putting Duke on his shoulders, so to speak.
Yeah, no doubt. Stephen Morris has been great, over 400 yards last week. So talk about what he does and how he helps this Miami Hurricane offense run.
Stephen Morris.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just the go-to guy. Yeah. I mean, he stood in there last week like the old Miami quarterbacks are old, very confident, poised, let the ball go, and the guys around him made plays.
And, of course, Duke Johnson now making big plays.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's my favorite rookie in the ACC this year, over 200 all-purpose yards a game. He's going to be a force to be reckoned with for some time to come. You see here what Miami does offensively to get the running backs involved. You got 3 wide receivers on the perimeter to block. Sometimes there's a guy left unblocked, and the coaches will tell you he's your guy. You got to make that one guy miss. But when teams are fast, the key is to get your fast guys out in space, which is what Miami does here. Now, instead of 3 small wide receivers out in front, he's got those big hogs out in front. And believe me, the defensive backs don't want to test them when they're coming full speed down the field to tackle those guys. So this is what Miami does. They spread it out, put their playmakers in space, make people miss, score touchdowns.
They are starting to put up a lot of points, 42 last week against Georgia Tech. More on that game later. As Riley likes to say, Clemson can't let Florida State beat them twice. Tigers cannot sleepwalk through today's game against Boston College. Taj Boyd trying to make sure that. He called a players-only meeting this week. K-Nash Sports joins me now. Kelly, what did Boyd tell his teammates?
That's right. Right when they got back from Florida after that emotional loss, Taj Boyd called that players-only meeting to rally the troops, refocus their goals, and tell them that there's still great things to play for this season. Now here's head coach Dabo Swinney on what he thinks of Boyd's initiative.
Taj isn't just the quarterback, he's a leader. And that's what you want to see. Taj isn't just the quarterback, he's a leader. And that's what you want to see. And that I was kind of anxious to see yesterday, to be honest with you, just how would these guys respond. You know, we do have a lot of guys who are kind of in that role for the first time, and I was anxious to see, and I really liked the look in their eye. They weren't happy.
Now, Dorsey, I've got to ask you, you know this Tigers team hasn't fared well in the past in Chestnut Hill. You know, in 2010, the Eagles pulled off the upset. Do you think Boyd's meeting is going to give them what it takes to refocus?
Oh, absolutely. I think because what happens is when you go into a game, the magnitude of Florida State, and you lose, you're very disappointed because that kind of eliminates you from the national championship race. Right. So that's just the reality of it, and you can't tell the kids it's any different. But what Taj Boyd said was, listen, there's enough blame to go around for everybody. Defensively, you guys gave up 600 yards. Offensively, we didn't do a lot of great things in the second half. Special teams, a bunch of mistakes as well. But at the same time, there are a lot of great things to take from this game. They were up 31-21 halfway through the third quarter. You know, Florida State just played better in the second half, but this is still a great football team. And Dabo Swinney's job is to keep these guys on the up and up, keep them excited about the rest of the season, and not think that the season is down the toilet because you don't have a shot at the national championship.
Right. Now, the X factor today, Sammy Watkins not playing. He stayed home with a stomach virus. How does his absence change the game?
It's going to change it a little bit, but, you know, early on in the season, Nuke Hopkins had a great time scoring the football, so I think they're not going to miss a beat. Obviously, Sammy's a little slow coming back on the receiving end. He did some things running the football, but in his absence, Hopkins did a great job, and I think we're going to see a lot of the same thing today.
Of course, Clemson running up against that linebacking core of Boston College. They're 1, 3, and 4 in the conference in tackles. They are tough. All right, now, ahead on ACC Kickoff Live, we will discuss the Noles, who should be ranked after, where they should be ranked after that game against Clemson, and an ACC history lesson. Connor Vernon has already passed some of the great names in conference history. Today, the Duke wide receiver could become #1. It's been raining on and off in Winston-Salem. Duke and Wake Forest, both teams 3-1 coming in. Duke dominated this in-state rivalry for decades, but Wake Forest has won 12 in a row. Kickoff 12:30 on the ACC network. Steve Martin and Dave Archer call the action. They have a preview.
Jeff, there's the ACC Championship Trophy won by Wake Forest in 2006. A lot of people thought that was somewhat improbable given the fact that they are the smallest school in the FBS. But Duke is following that same plan, and they hope to bring it to fruition today. And, Dave, we've got two good quarterbacks slinging the ball around, but what makes them good is that each has a prize receiver. And, of course, last week we saw Tanner Price and Michael Campanaro.
Yeah, the best friend of a quarterback is a guy you can trust. He knows he's going to go get the football for you, and there's nobody better so far in the country than Michael Campanaro. We had a chance to see him last week. He caught the ball all over the yard. Also had a monster day against North Carolina. Campanaro will catch the ball in a lot of different places for Tanner Price. He's a big play guy, and they're going to try to get him the ball a number of times.
Well, some people receive, but this guy catches, and the guy that he's going up against, Connor Vernon, catches the ball and speeds up afterward, and that's why Sean Renfrey is throwing the ball at 70%.
Well, when you talk to the Wake Forest coaches on the defensive side, they say Connor Vernon is the complete package. He's got great speed, better than you think, and it's great speed on game day. He had a monster day here 2 years ago, and the kid can catch the ball all over the yard, but what he is he's a tremendous competitor. He will fight you tooth and nail to the end, and as it turns out, he's closing in on some history.
He is. He's just 6 passes away, becoming the all-time ACC receiver and taking that mark away from Aaron Kelly of Clemson.
It's an unbelievable honor because there's been a lot of great receivers and a lot of great quarterbacks in this conference, and it's a tremendous honor if he gets it today. He's going to probably make that happen today.
He sure is. He averages about 7 catches a game. He's at 23 all-time against Wake Forest. The food is good. The football's even better. We're going to have a great day here in Winston-Salem, Jeff.
All right, guys, thank you. Vernon could also end up holding the ACC record for receiving yards. He just passed 3,000 last week. Who's ahead of him? 4th all-time, NC State's Jericho Cotchery, 3,119 yards receiving. He's also tied for 2nd in history for 100-yard receiving games. A fellow Dookie, Clarkston Hines, is 3rd all-time in yards. From 86 to 89, piled up 3,318. He also holds the ACC record for touchdown catches with 38. Number 2 in ACC history, North Carolina State's Torrey Holt, 3,379 career receiving yards. In 1998, he was a consensus All-American and ACC Player of the Year. And number 1 in ACC history, Florida State's Peter Warrick, finished his Seminoles career with 3,517 yards. In 1999, he finished 6th in the Heisman voting. Sometime in October or November, Connor Vernon will likely pass him for number 1 all-time in receiving yards in ACC history. Now, Michael Campanaro has been like poetry in motion on the field. In fact, he's inspired one fan to sing about him. Kelly Nash is here now. Kelly.
Named after him. The theme is from the parody Canyonero from the show The Simpsons. See if you recognize it. Take a listen.
All right, I guess we're having technical problems right now with that. We definitely want to let you guys hear that because Campanaro would make me want to sing. If you guys have ever seen this, if you guys have ever seen The Simpsons, Canyonero is fantastic. So is Campanaro. Hopefully we can show that to you. All right, the Noles are number 4 in the polls, but should they be higher? Plus, you have to hear what Jimbo Fisher thinks of E.J. Manuel's Heisman hopes after that win over Clemson. We're coming back.
Open, he fires to the right, wide open Ellington, in stride of the 10, of the 5, and there's Origin in the end zone, touchdown.
Long strike, far side, touchdown! And the Noles lead for the first time tonight.
Not to be denied. That's a man carrying the football. Make him pay, Knowles. Make him pay.
Welcome back to ACC Kickoff Live, the best college football pregame show for ACC fans. Dorsey Levin's with me. I'm Jeff Fischel. Remember, you can be a part of the show too. Tweet us with your take on today's games or ask Dorsey a question at the ACCDN. Let's take a look right now at the top 5 in the AP poll. Florida State, of course, number 4, but after the win over Clemson, just 6 votes behind LSU. Crimson Tide and Tigers meet in November, so that should sort itself out. Oregon still has USC, Stanford, and Oregon State. Bottom line, Florida State needs to keep winning and look dominant in the process. So the question, Dorsey, should Florida State be number 4 or should they be ranked higher?
Based on potential, I think they should be ranked higher. In my opinion, as high as number 2. I think Alabama's the only team in that top 5 that's better than Florida State, and I'd say that based on Bama's defense, which is very similar to Jimbo Fisher's defense, where they just flat get out after guys every single play. I think defensively they can stop Oregon's spread offense with all that speed, although Oregon is playing a lot better on defense this year. LSU struggled last week against Auburn. They're my number 2 team in the country.
They have certainly looked impressive, and certainly that win over Clemson was perhaps the most impressive win by any top 5 team so far. And meanwhile, you talk about the defense is great on offense. E.J. Manuel, he's been fantastic. Let's take a look at the numbers for the Noles QB. First up, 482. What's that? That's how many total yards Manuel had versus Clemson. He became the first Noles quarterback since Charlie Ward in 1992 to throw for 300-plus yards and run for at least 100. Next number, 73. 4 games into the season, Manuel boasts a completion rate of 73%, 69 of 94 for over 900 yards, 8 touchdowns, just 1 interception. Last number, 19. That's the number of career wins for the redshirt senior. Manuel went under center early on in his career, filling in for an injured Christian Ponder. When Manuel was just a redshirt freshman, he went 3-1 that year, beat West Virginia in the Gator Bowl, Bobby Bowden's final game. So now, E.J. Manuel being talked about as a Heisman candidate. All right, Dorsey, where would you rank him right now?
Right now, I'd probably rank him about number 3, behind West Virginia's Geno Smith and DeAnthony Thomas of Oregon. But he's putting up the numbers. He's done it in big games on national spotlights, which is what Heisman Trophy winners usually do. So he's on track to do what he needs to do to win the Heisman, but he's going to need some help, obviously, around the country.
It's funny hearing Coach Jimbo Fisher talk about it. He's not really worrying about the Heisman hype. He says the Heisman is for, quote, show dogs. He'd rather have a hunting dog who he can let loose. What do you think?
Oh, I totally agree. I think a lot of times when you put guys in a Heisman race, you can lose focus because now the main focus is winning a Heisman. It's not about winning football games. But if you win football games, the Heisman will take care of itself. So I think Jimbo's got the right message once again. Take care of what you can take care of on the football field and let all accolades and awards take care of themselves.
Hunting dogs, show dogs. I love the way Jimbo uses West Virginia way of explaining things. Meanwhile, E.J. Manuel says he only worries about winning, which I think means the same thing.
Yeah.
All right, E.J. for Heisman. Kelly Nash, do ACC fans think that has a nice ring to it?
That's right. Well, they may agree with Dorsey Levens in the number 3 slot. Asked fans on Facebook.com/theACC. Guys, you're not going to believe this. 80% said no, he's not worthy of being a finalist. Guys, I think he's the sleeper pick of the year. If they can win out, who knows what he can do.
Yeah, I'm curious, Dorsey. Do you think he's really not these fans don't think he's a Heisman candidate, or are they just FSU haters?
They're FSU haters, plain and simple. Probably a bunch of Clemson fans and Wake Forest fans who voted, but that's ridiculous.
Don't be haters. Come on, guys. By the way, 4 other Seminole quarterbacks have finished in the top 5 in Heisman voting. We know Charlie Ward, Chris Winkie have won it. Go back to 1967. Kim Hammond finished 5th, 1991. Casey Weldon, he didn't have huge numbers, but the team was loaded. He led the way. He finished 2nd in the voting. Now we see if Manuel can keep it going and join them. Certainly, he was phenomenal last week. Well, Manuel's from Virginia, so is NC State quarterback Mike Glennon. He can also make some big plays. Last year, over 3,000 yards passing, 31 touchdowns. Today, taking on a Miami defense that's given up a few big plays already this season. Our Riley Skinner gives us a look at how Glennon and his receivers can try to stretch the field against Miami this afternoon.
I'm Riley Skinner. In this week's segment of Chalk Talk, brought to you by Ruby Tuesday, we're going to look at one of NC State's most productive route concepts. That's the vertical switch. What I mean by vertical switch is you have a post pattern that is coupled by either a corner route or a wheel route behind it, causing them to cross downfield, putting the safety in a bind. This is most productive against a too-high safety look. So as Mike Glennon comes to the line of scrimmage, he noticed he's got the too-high safety look he wants, and he can work the vertical switch. The safety has got to make a decision. He's either running with the corner route or the post. In this case, he runs with the corner. The post opens up in the middle of the field. Mike Glennon puts a perfect ball on his receiver for a huge gain downfield. Again, he's got the too-high safety look he wants. He's going to eye the safety pre-snap and post-snap. And this time, the safety is going to run with the post route, and it's going to open up the wheel route behind it. The corner cannot keep up. Mike Glennon puts it in stride to his receiver for a big touchdown for the Wolfpack. It's the vertical switch is just one of the many route concepts that NC State has in its arsenal that makes it so effective.
Handle the Wolfpack passing game.
It's going to be tough because he calls it a vertical switch. We used to call them combination routes where you have two receivers, and the goal is to try to confuse the defensive backs or even rub them off if the receivers can run the routes precisely.
We don't want to call it a pick.
Right, yeah, right. It's a legal pick is what it is, exactly. But it works to perfection, and if you can execute, it puts the defensive backs in a terrible bind. And if you hit the open guys, it's almost unstoppable.
NC State will test that Miami D this afternoon. Well, you always hear that defensive linemen never get any of the attention. Not Maryland's A.J. Francis. He has Sports Illustrated writing about him. He has a rap song, and he started what he calls, quote, the fat guy friendly movement. I'll ask him about all of that next. Here's where ACC defenses rank in all of college football. We know Florida State's D is great. They're number 2 in the country. Look at Maryland. Even after facing that explosive West Virginia offense last week, the Terps, they're number 8 in the country. Joining me now on Skype, Maryland defensive lineman AJ Francis. AJ, thanks. Let's start with football. The Terps are 2-2. You guys head into ACC play next week. How do you feel about where you are as a team right now?
Well, I feel like we've been progressing each and every week. I feel like we let last 2 games get away that we could have easily won if we'd have just played our game. Both games cost us with mistakes we made on our own, and we just got to come out, get ready for Wake next week.
Everybody's talking about AJ Francis right now because Sports Illustrated, AJ, included you one of the 100 best sports figures on Twitter to follow. In fact, I got this question on Twitter. Harry Hairbear tweeted me and wanted to ask, how do you become the best person in the ACC to follow on Twitter?
The thing is, I'm being myself. I hate those people. I hate the parody accounts when people pretend to be somebody else. I'm not a big fan of people trying to do something to get a laugh. I remember I woke up before the day the Sports Illustrated list came out. I woke up with 2,100 followers, and then I got 10 followers in 2.5 minutes, and I had no idea why. And then since then, I've gotten 800 new followers. So it's been a pretty crazy week. I
got to ask you about this. On your Twitter bio, you say you're the creator of the Fat Guy Friendly movement. Explain what that is, and what do your big bone teammates think of that?
Fat Guy Friendly is a lifestyle that you have to live each and every day. It's one of those things that, like, if you don't use it, you're gonna lose it. Being fat is a privilege. Back in the days, people see being fat as like it's a stigma. Like, you don't want to be fat. Being fat is a privilege. It's hard to be fat. It's a hard life to live. Anybody can go out and pick up a lady friend, and if you're a skinny guy with a 6-pack, but it's hard to do with a keg, you know what I'm saying? So it's hard to be a big guy nowadays. And it's just, the big guys love it, and it's just a lifestyle you gotta live.
All right, clearly you have a sense of humor. Does Coach Edsall, can you get him to laugh?
Oh, yeah. Coach Edsall, he's one of those things that you gotta know when to try to make him laugh. He's just like every other coach. But, yeah, Coach Edsall can laugh just with the best of them. I remember the first time I ever made him laugh, we had a good drill, and I ran by and I smacked him on his butt saying, "Good job." And he was a little shocked. I don't think anybody had ever done that before. So it was one of those things that it was a awkward laugh because he wasn't sure how to react. But yeah, he can laugh just like anybody else.
All right. If anyone who follows you on Twitter knows, you love politics, right? You interned with House Minority Whip Steny Hoyer. Your dream job is politics, right?
Yeah. My undergrad degree was in government and politics. I'm working on my master's in social policy right now. I would love to one day be the governor of Maryland. It's the greatest state in the union, and I hope to preserve that for whenever I get the chance to try to push that agenda.
Terps fans know one other thing about you. You rapped, right? You wrote a song for Maryland women's lacrosse team working off Wiz Khalifa's Black and Yellow. It's what? Free the Turtle, right? Give me a few of your favorite lines.
My favorite lines, they always cut me off at the end because I always take some jabs at some of our ACC rivals.
I know, I've heard those lines, right? You take down the Tar Heels, Virginia. What do you say? Oh, not good enough to remember, right?
It's one of those things, like, it's a rivalry game, man. Anytime you get a chance to poke one at your rival, you got to take it. They're going to take it, so we got to take it.
Feel the turtle, feel the turtle, feel the turtle. And you leave them with an L when you're NCP. Feel the turtle, feel the turtle, feel the turtle, feel the turtle.
Now, one thing I'd love to hear, could you get Joe Villano to rap with you?
Oh, my God. Joe loves that song. Joe's always like, whenever we're just in that room chilling and we have people over, he's always like, yo, put that song on. It's like, we're sitting here watching a football game. I don't really want to listen to that song. It's one of those things that, like, I've heard the song so many times and people ask me to do it so many times that it's starting to get to a point where I'm like, all right, that's not the only thing I've ever done with my life. Like,
Well, hey, AJ Francis, it's great talking to you. Good luck as the Terps enter ACC play. And remember, guys, you can follow him on Twitter at @the_franchise, FRANCHYZE, right, AJ?
Say fancy.
All right, AJ, thanks again.
No problem.
great talking to that guy, and you have to be impressed with this team. New coordinators, a true freshman quarterback. They are battling every week. The Terps play their ACC opener next week at home against Wake. November, look at that. That looks pretty brutal. You have Clemson and Florida State back-to-back weeks. You know, K-Nash Sports has been following the franchise on Twitter. Kelly, that big personality, it definitely comes across in his tweets, doesn't it?
It really does. I wonder if we can get him in here to rap about Michael Campanaro. What do you think, guys?
Sounds good.
Check out these tweets. Apparently, the future governor was anointed. He tweeted, "I was just knighted, Sir Franchise." Interesting there. Wonder how long it's going to take till he makes that his Twitter handle. Now moving on, back scratch over tummy rub, but barely. I don't even want to touch that one. Maybe that's related to the first tweet. I don't want to know. Third one, hold the hell up. How has no one ever told me about raspberry covered pretzels before? They were unbelievably fat guy friendly. Guys.
He's pushing the fat guy friendly all the way. Dorsey, you've been a running back. You've had to run behind offensive lines. So are you fat guy friendly?
I'm very fat guy friendly. I love fat guys. I'm a little disappointed that AJ called us underprivileged, because we're not fat.
That's right.
But, you know, it is what it is. I love the big guys.
He's making me think I might want to put on a few pounds. I might want to be fat guy friendly myself. All right. You know, another Terp who hasn't been friendly to defenses, true freshman wide receiver Stephon Diggs. He's number 12 in the country in all-purpose yards, number 2 in the ACC, behind only another true freshman, Duke Johnson. Johnson, number 1 in the country. Dorsey, who's your pick right now? ACC Rookie of the Year.
Well, let me preface this by saying both of these guys are doing an incredibly great job, because the biggest difference between high school and college is the speed of the game. It's like night and day. It's not even close. Stephon Diggs, 160 all-purpose yards, 9th in receiving in the ACC. He's doing a great job returning kicks, but I'm a running back. Duke Johnson is my man. 210 all-purpose yards a game. He scored 3 different ways on a kick return, a pass play, and a rushing play, and he's number 1 in the country at all-purpose yards as a freshman. That is remarkable. That's just absolutely remarkable. My nod goes to Duke Johnson.
And remember, he's sharing time with Mike James. I mean, it's not like he's the only guy in that backfield. He's only getting a certain number of touches every week.
Yeah, you know, and I think that kind of benefits him a little bit, because he's well rested, he's fresh. So Mike can go in and get some carries. He can come in, he's fresh. It works for both guys, actually.
Yeah, let's not forget Diggs' teammate Perry Hills, true freshman quarterback thrown into the fire, holding his own. Also someone to consider. That's a debate we'll have all season. We could have one at UVA. Is Michael Rocco starting to lose his grip on the quarterback job? Phillip Sims is waiting in the wings. Today's game could tell us a lot. Our Riley Skinner's not here for the show because he's down in Atlanta for today's Middle Tennessee Georgia Tech game. He and Mike Hogwood will call the action. They have a preview.
Here in Atlanta, Georgia, the Blue Raiders of Middle Tennessee State are ready to take on the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. It'll be a day to try to right the ship for Georgia Tech, a team that lost last week to Miami in overtime. Mike Hogwood along with Riley Skinner here. And Riley, you got to wonder what's been the emotion for this Georgia Tech team. They've lost 2 games already this year in overtime.
Well, Paul Johnson, we talked to him yesterday, and he kept harping on the resiliency of his ball players and the fact that they've been tremendous of having a short memory and putting those kind of games behind him, coming to work every day and practice. But, Mike, 2 losses in overtime to in-conference opponents, I don't care how resilient you are, that's tough to put behind you.
Well, one thing we know, Riley, Georgia Tech can and will run the football today. You look at their numbers, 748 rushing yards, 12 touchdowns, and the guy that triggers this attack is their quarterback, Tevin Washington.
Well, he's really the conductor behind this train, and he's done a great job of being efficient with what they do. That's what they need him to do, is run the offense effectively, not turn the ball over, not get them in bad positions, and he's been doing that very well this year.
Now, this will be the 3rd straight year that Georgia Tech has played Middle Tennessee out of the Sun Belt Conference, and a lot will ride on the shoulders of their quarterback today, Logan Kilgore, in his 2nd season as a starter.
Well, Logan Kilgore is a guy that has improved tremendously from last year. He's been, you see here, he's 2nd in passing efficiency in the Sun Belt. And talking to offensive coordinator Coach Faulkner, that's what he wants him to do, is keep them out of bad plays. 6 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's doing a great job right now.
Yeah, a lot's going to ride on his shoulders today. And Riley, I guess it's great to have you here with us, but Jeff and Dorsey are having to struggle back in the studio.
It's a good change of scenery out here, but I can't seem to escape Jeff. Either way, when I'm gone, he's still around somehow. So I miss him back there.
Jeff, we're glad to have Riley with us today. You guys hang in there in the studio without him.
Sure, we'll get Riley back next week. A big week next week in ACC play as well. Dorsey, meanwhile, the Tar Heels also started off the wrong foot in the ACC play, a loss to Wake Forest. Since then, quarterback Bryn Renner has been great. Looks like he's really finding his comfort zone in that Larry Fedora offense.
I think he really is. You know, I think initially we all anticipated it would take some time for those guys to get acclimated to the new coaching staff, the new system. But I think he's finally starting to catch hold of it. The last 2 weeks, 680 yards passing, really flying under the radar. I mean, he's statistically speaking number 2 or 3 for quarterbacks in the ACC, but he's overlooked because we got Taj Boyd, we got E.J. Manuel, Chase Reddick, kind of flying under the radar, but he's doing a fantastic job.
So today the Tar Heels take on Idaho. Even that defense for the Tar Heels looking better, 7 sacks last week. Meanwhile, Virginia at home today, Louisiana Tech. Boy, Louisiana Tech puts up all kinds of points on the board. Dorsey, if the Cavs struggle today, do you think Mike London thinks about making a QB switch from Michael Rocco to Phillip Sims?
I think he has to think about it. I mean, neither quarterback is playing extremely well, but the thing for Michael Rocco is that he's got 5 interceptions this year. Last week against TCU, wasn't able to move the football down the field. Phillip Sims comes in. Numbers weren't great as well, but he moved the team down the field and scored a touchdown. If Rocco starts and he's not moving the team up and down the field, let's expect to see Phillip Sims again in the game today.
Again, taking on a Louisiana team that scores 54 points a game. The key is that offensive line. Dorsey, they're sexy and they know it.
Wiggle, 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 yeah. Wiggle, 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 yeah. Wiggle, 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 yeah. Wiggle, 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 yeah, yeah. Do the wiggle, man. I do the wiggle, man. Yeah.
Would you want to run behind those guys?
I would love to. And this is the fat guy friendly show today.
It really is, isn't it?
I love fat guys. Love them.
Louisiana Tech's offense is great because of those guys. When they're not dancing, when they're just playing football, they're fantastic. And you thought that was good. Here's that song finally for Michael Campanero.
Can you name the receiver all defenses hate? He's the son of 2 chefs catching passes at Wake. Campanero. He could score on a slant or a bubble screen. He's a record-smashing pass-catching deacon machine. Campanero. Campanero. Yeah, Campanero. Whoa!
So Campanero makes you want to sing. We have that song stuck in our heads all week long here on the show. Of course, that's a reference to a Simpsons episode about an SUV, the Canyonero. So there you go. There's Michael Campanero. All right, we are more than a little more than a half hour away from kickoff at Wake Forest. Duke taking on Wake Forest. Both teams are 3-1 coming in. There you go. It looks wet, doesn't it, in Winston-Salem? Steve Martin and Dave Archer with the call on the ACC network. Check your local listings for the channel carrying the game in your area. Now here's a look back at Week 4.
Buckle up, everybody. The Saturday night roller coaster is leaving the station. Quick cutback, look out! He's got great speed.
Logan Thomas doing what he does best, making big plays.
Another leveling block from the Virginia Tech special teams.
Bernard straight to the end zone, touchdown. Welcome back, Giovanni Bernard.
That was just a little too easy, wasn't it?
36 straight. That's the top ground attack in America, stuffed by the Hurricanes. James for the end zone. Miami wins. One of the great comebacks in Miami history.
Still keeps his feet, still moving. Touchdown.
Underwood dives into the end zone. Touchdown, Wolfpack.
Talk about run after the catch. Campanero is as good as there is in the ACC.
Tack him on with a touchdown. Sammy Watkins, a 52-yard pass. Long strike, far side, touchdown. And the Noles lead for the first time tonight.
He should feel good. He's played great all night. I'm going to tell you something. This is a Heisman performance here tonight.
All right, there you see what the Saturday selections are after Week 4. Dorsey leading the way at 4-3 with the ACC fans 4-3. Riley 3-4. Dorsey, let's pick the big game today in the ACC. Miami, North Carolina State. Who do you like?
I like Miami. I think they have too many weapons on offense for North Carolina State to slow down. I think they're going to pick up from some momentum they had last week. 2-0 in the Coastal Division right now. They're at the top. They got a lot to play for.
And we will see what happens there because Riley likes NC State on that one. I know you guys both think Wake and Clemson win today as well. All right, let's find out what the fans think. Kelly Nash, what are they saying on Facebook?
Guys, I'm on fist bump lockout until Riley returns, just letting you know. But Dorsey, the fans don't agree with you. They pick NC State 57%.
All right, so there you go. That's what's going to happen, at least according to the fans, but they've been right so far. Kelly, thank you. Let's run through the schedule one more time in the ACC. 2 games about to kick off. NC State and Miami, Middle Tennessee at Georgia Tech, then at 12:30 Duke and Wake. 4 games kick off at 3:30. Remember, no Sammy Watkins for Clemson. BC's dominant linebackers, can they make a game change in that one? And then throughout the afternoon into the evening, Florida State tested by South Florida. Well, remember, keep it here all day on the ACC Digital Network. On Twitter, follow us. The must-see moments and the highlights right here on the ACC Digital Network. Brought to you by Ruby Tuesday. He's Dorsey Levens. I'm Jeff Fischel.